Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to Millie Chun TV. It's your girl, Millie Chun. We have our guest here, this amazing panel, the Zaxtivist, L, and Kenny Too Raw Too Real. I don't know if Double D Mother will be joining us. I know she has a family situation, and we should be joined soon by Antoine Seawright. And until he gets here, we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about before this has even happened. Hold on.
Hello, hello.
Oh, we can hear you now.
Okay, there you go. Um, so how is everybody doing at this point?
Um, Optimistic but also infuriated at the same
Mhm.
time. Excited. There's a lot of a range of emotions happening right now for me. Okay, when I tell you,
Hopeful, and scared. Honestly, I don't know if y'all want to say it, but I will be the first person to say, um, this feels hopeless. And there's a lot of optimism in hoping the DNC pulls it together, hoping Kamala um works for the independent party. I don't know. There's just so many ifs involved in this now new road to the 2024 election that I just, as a woman, as a Black woman, as a mother,
Yeah.
it feels scary. And so the hope in the words of like, oh, we're gonna get it together, like now more than anything for me, I'm like, okay, lay out the plan. How we gonna get it together? How?
Okay, we're welcoming Trey Baker here. Hey, Trey.
Hey Trey,
Thank you for joining us.
Hey, what's going on?
How
you tell
how are
us.
you feeling? How are you
Any
doing?
any news happening today?
oh god,
Anything going on that we should
I
talk
don't
about?
know. I don't
just the
know.
Yeah.
weather.
What are y'all talking about?
The sun came out, so there's that.
I know.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, I just came to drop by,
Let me just.
and so I don't know all the logistics and everything, but and I know you got Antoine Seawright joining you today. He's my good brother from South Carolina. But what I did want y'all to know is I appreciate you that Joe Biden is a fucking patriot. He just a lot of people won't know quite yet, but he just threw his 81-year-old body over the train tracks of democracy in order to prevent a Trump presidency, and that will not, um, that will not go uncelebrated throughout history at this
Right.
point. And then now the president has endorsed Vice President Harris, and so we, as a community, have to have a full-throated support and approach to defending this black woman. They are going to come after her with everything, misogyny, racism, anything that we can come up with that they could throw at her. They're going to throw it at her. And particularly amongst black men, we have to come out as the protectors that we are and jump right in front of all of this before it even happens. And so I just wanted to, come in, and because I had the link, I really just, you know, crashed y'all's party. But I thought it was important to hear from me on the campaign side. We're not actually talking, but uh, wanted to just come in and say, Antoine Seawright's my great brother. He'll come and he'll give you a good understanding of what's going on from his end. But from my end, I'm just really happy and proud to have served in this administration when I was there, and to have served with the president in the campaign. I told him in Las Vegas, I had a chance to be one-on-one with him for a while in Las Vegas, and I told him that the when he got off that stage a couple Thursdays ago, and he looked around, he had a lot more friends when he went on that stage than when he got off. But the friends that he got off that stage with were in the black community. And we're going to be the people who save democracy yet again. It's unfair that it's always black people who have to do it, but it's up to us to save democracy again. And so we're going to be right on the front lines for that. So, and I appreciate y'all having these conversations and opening it up to communities because, that we have an opportunity to do something exciting. We can put a black woman in the White House, and anybody who has a black woman mama or sisters or wives should be very excited about this proposition. So
Trey,
Can I
I
that's
ask a
all.
question?
Wait, let's get Kenny because his hand was up first.
Okay, so what plan do we have set in motion for the legal issues that we're going to be facing with these ballot changes? Because let's just get to the nitty gritty of it. That's what I'm concerned about.
Say that again. I was taking you off my Bluetooth.
Okay, so what are we doing as far as the legal side of these ballot changes? What are we going to do? Because the Heritage Foundation already has their legal team ready to challenge these ballot changes in a lot of key swing states that we definitely need in order to win this election. Is this election going to be decided by voters, or is it going to be decided by the Supreme Court? Those are the things that I'm concerned about, and I think a lot of voters, a lot of educated voters, are concerned about with why we wanted Joe Biden to stay the top of the ticket. I am very excited about Kamala Harris, but however, just thinking realistically, what's going to happen even if we do win?
So I think as a part of the party mechanism, it is put in place that the person, because Kamala Harris has received a part of those 14 million votes, right, already as a part of the party mechanism. So if something else were to happen, if the president had to become unable to continue out his run for one reason or another, then it would have been Vice President Harris as a part of the party structure to move into that space. I have to tell you right now that there will be challenges to it, and they will try to hold it up in court. But because we haven't gone into our convention yet, and the convention is where the actual nominee and the votes for the nominee happen from the delegates, then I think we have that leg to stand on, particularly if it's Vice President Harris who received votes as a vice presidential nominee.
My other question, just to follow up, is you think that it would be logical for Biden to step down as president to give Kamala Harris the power of incumbency? Because we already know, based off of what I've seen in 2020 with the primaries, the erasure of Black women, the erasure of Kamala Harris, even with her being one of the most accomplished vice presidents, and what she's been able to do on a legislative basis as breaking more ties than any vice president in history, and what she's been able to do as far as garnering, foreign relations with meeting over 100 foreign leaders. Is he willing to step down to give her that leg up so the media cannot not cover her?
Well, I don't know that that's a consideration right now. I see it from a different standpoint. I think for him to step down takes out the whole power base that we have right now. We have both the president and the vice president to be able to, in their official capacity, be able to push things through, and then also be helpful in the campaign apparatus. So I think having him empowered is actually more helpful to us than not right now. I think people will see Kamala Harris as the principal going forward, and so we will have that to go off of. But I think for right now that's not a consideration.
My question was twofold for you, Trey. First, just looking at the optics and looking at what it's been since the debate, do you think that there was a way to shift the public narrative that didn't include him actually dropping out of the race? And then secondly, with all this, yes, we know now that Biden has endorsed Kamala Harris. We have conversation about the possibility of Governor Newsom stepping up and now joining the race. If there were, is it as much of a scramble as it feels to us as the American people? Because it does feel like on our end, well, if you had these viable candidates that you're so fired up about, in respect to everything that Biden has done as a politician and just as a president, why are we even here having this conversation? Why didn't you put them up before?
To your first question, I believe that there was a viable path and that we had stemmed the bleeding a bit from the debate. I think you can point to the letter that was signed initially by 1,400 Black women coming out in support of the president that now has over 4,900 signatures on it. There's an accompanying letter from Black men that was essentially saying the same thing that was in the pipeline. The Black community, the CBC, had held firm, so that was acting as a firewall against it. And so, quite frankly, I thought we were turning the corner on it, and it seemed that we were at that space. And this was a very personal decision from the president himself. I think he looked at everything that was going on and looked at the unity or lack thereof of the party and saw that there had to be a stronger route. And so this, despite what we had thought, because we were going, we were very much going forward. So it's very much like this next week. I'm thinking about National Urban League. We're launching the Black Male Initiative in Wisconsin at the end of the week. So the mechanism was going. And so I think it was just a very personal decision from the president, looking at it and looking at our chances to win and just the overt threat that's posed by Donald Trump and giving us the best chance to win. And what was the second part again about all the talented pool and having had them?
Like if those people existed, why weren't they front runners from the beginning? Why even be in a position where we can debate his age and his ability to do the job?
We had an incumbent president at the time who has a tremendous history and record of accomplishment, and so I think the question becomes like why would you go against that? Yeah, and so all of those folks were in support. Nobody levied a legitimate challenge in the primary, and so I think despite kind of unprecedented circumstances, then we'd be on the same page with Joe Biden. So yeah, I don't think that would have been an issue to even discuss with a super successful incumbent president.
With all of this this ageism conversation, if you, and this is just your personal opinion based on your profession, if you were in control with all of the narrative that has been spun in the media, and we're talking about his age and whether or not he is capable of doing this job, if you were in charge, how would you have, I guess, played out this next 2 weeks to change that narrative
around
him? Like if Biden didn't drop out, what would have been your way to like shift that narrative and like, hey guys, we need to be talking about this, or look at this?
I think the fundamentals of this race have not changed in any way, right? Donald Trump represents the single largest threat to democracy that we have, and so the thing that we have to do with any candidate is see them more so as a vessel for our policies and our issues, as opposed to just like this person. And so I think for whatever you personally have against someone, they represent, this is the person who can carry our policies. The reason Joe Biden won in 2020 was because he was able to put together a coalition that included Black people, that included labor unions, that included young people, suburban white women, and others, and create those 81 million some odd votes to become president. And that's the calculus we would have had to start talking to people about, is that, despite what you think of his age, yes, he's an 81-year-old man, but he's going to carry policies, as opposed to inflicting us with Project 2025 or whatever heinous things Donald Trump may have planned.
Okay, I got one more question. How do we reassure voters who showed up during the primary? Because we talk about Donald Trump being an existential crisis when it comes to democracy, but how do we ensure voters that their vote and their voice actually matters when it seems like donors have more say than voters do? What do we do to reassure those 14 million people who showed up, including myself?
And that's, I had raised my hand, but maybe it wasn't seen. That's exactly what I was going to ask Kenny. And I just want to come in because, I'm going to be the person on this panel that isn't going to say the popular thing or the politically correct thing about what the Democratic Party has done. What I have witnessed carefully happen over time is the impact of the billionaire class, the elites, the mega donors, who have come in and they have usurped control of the Democratic Party from the people. President Biden was a viable candidate and said that he did not want to leave this race. Now he's leaving his race. I'm sure it is, of course, his own decision, but the immense pressure applied to him by incumbent Democrats like the representative out of Texas who folded first, Joe Manchin, and other false Democrats who've also championed this cause have shown me, as a lifelong Democrat who is prepared to right now disavow the entire party, that the Democratic establishment cares more about money and corporate interest and the elites than they care about the 14 million people who voted in the primaries when we didn't have to, when we knew that he was going to be the nominee anyway. So I think, and so want to add that piece in, because no matter what, that needs to be taken back to the powers that be, that they are about to lose an entire generation of Democratic voters forever behind how they did not protect this ticket, or if not being able to protect the ticket, having kept this internally and not let it become public fodder for the media, who we know are not in support of our democracy.
I appreciate that sentiment, and I'm not going to opine on the Democratic establishment right now. I just it's kind of fresh, and I'm still working towards the ultimate goal. So I won't opine on that. I will say this though. In looking at this and talking to our posters, I was actually just with Terrence Woodbury from Hit Strategies yesterday, who's one of the best Black posters in the country. It was, I agree, and we saw in everything that we did, we saw with every stakeholder engagement, it was not the voters, it was not the people who got out from under Joe Biden. And so I'll leave it at that without opining too much on the party apparatus, because that's a whole nother can of worms. But I'll be happy to come on later. I'm just not going to do that 2 hours after Joe Biden dropped.
Let it breathe just a little bit.
Yeah. I know where you are. I know where you're going, and I'm probably going there with you. But as of 2 hours after this decision, I can't do that.
I just pray that Democrats don't try to brush this over, because a lot of people are in their feelings, and we need to be able to address this issue, because if we're talking about democracy being on the line, Democrats cannot be one of those things that will be a barrier or a challenge when it comes to democracy, because voters need to be heard, and voters have made their voice very loud and very clear as supporting our president. But in this situation, all I want to do, because we can't change the circumstances, is what we need to do to rally behind our potential nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris, and making sure that these donors do not try to steal this from her.
Mm-hmm. And see it be approached with some level of humanity. To you and back point, we have been out there, we've done the work. I think we are way past the narrative of we just got to get out there and vote. Like we need to be met with some conversation. But yeah, go ahead.
Let me take this 1 second. I just want to introduce and let y'all know a little bit about Antoine Seawright. He is here now. Thank you for joining us, Antoine. Antoine is the senior advisor for the DNC. He is founder, CEO of Blueprint Strategies, LLC. He has advised on campaigns, on U.S. Senate, on the U.S. Congress, and he's a writer for The Hill, BuzzFeed, and BET.com. And he is here to enlighten us today. So thank you for being here, Antoine.
Well, thank you for having me. Go ahead, Trey.
Before Antoine starts, I'm gonna jump out. I was just here because I wanted to talk to y'all before it started. Let me say this in way of introduction to Antoine Seawright. I have two sisters who I love very much, Millicent and Melanie. Antoine Seawright is one of the brothers that I never had. He's one of my brothers in politics. And we've been in this fight together. We were just with a group of preachers in Nevada. We've been going around the country barnstorming, and he's one of the brightest political minds I know. I couldn't think of anybody better, particularly asking about sort of the party construct and what this means, big picture, than someone like Antoine Seawright, who's with Jamie Harris in the DNC chair every day. So I'm gonna pass this over to Antoine and just thank y'all for what you do. I want to come back. I talked to y'all before about some paid media funding and some other things. Once we get everything worked out on the logistics of how we move forward, then we need to continue those conversations. But I'll pass it over to Antoine C. Wright. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Trey.
Trey.
Well, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
We-
Before you get started, let me say this because I just want to get in and say
I'm gonna have to log back in because it seems I'm on the road. But I just want to make sure. Can you hear me?
yes.
Well, first of
Um,
all, thank you to Trey for his friendship and his brotherhood. Because my father always says you measure your friendships by those who defend you and advocate for your absence. And Trey has been my brother. Uh,
well, that's good. I know you're a good person, then, Antoine. But I just want to say
yeah,
this for people who may be listening. I want to thank Too Raw, Too Real. I want to thank Kenny for being here. I want to thank Zach and Elle for being here. I really appreciate you being here, and I appreciate your forward thinking and what you do for this. But I think for me, I want to just say this for people out there who are. I saw a comment under my post, and she said that she's not voting for anyone because she never vote for Kamala, and she's moving out of the country. That is not the answer, and that is not going to happen. A vote not for anyone is a vote for Donald Trump. We
Yeah.
are literally once again fighting for our freedoms, our democracy. I
For
I,
existence.
I want I talked to Zach about speaking on the 20 Project 2025, but for layman's terms, like your social security that you haven't even gotten old enough to be a part of yet. Um, if you're pregnant and something happens and it's your life against the baby's life, that's going to be a 50-50 toss up. You know,
It won't be 50-50, Militia, not in Project 2025. You're going down. That baby
yeah,
will
that's
live.
I'm just saying
Hmm.
And your
if you
children
make it
that
through
are
the
going to be left
pregnancy.
behind, family, like your life is gone. Like
No,
they're
that's what
going
I'm
to
saying.
choose
If you
that
make it
baby.
through the pregnancy and your baby doesn't, that's what I mean 50-50. It could be something like that versus how it could, like it's not between the doctor and the patient anymore. It's between man on man making decisions about things that they cannot physically do. And education is on the front line, which is crazy to me. So for those of you who feel like, oh, I'm not voting for Kamala, oh, I don't have a choice. You do have a choice. You have a choice to vote in favor of your democracy, right? You've seen what a Trump administration is. You've already seen that. And it's going to be worse this time. And I don't think anybody on this panel is going to disagree with me. It will be catastrophically worse. And honestly, us in these brown faces that we're donning, we're at the bottom of the barrel.
Hmm.
But here's the thing that I want to, address before we talk about Project 2025, because people get concerned about, oh, I don't want to vote for Kamala. Why? I
That's
mean,
what
those are
my
the
question.
questions that we have to
Hmm.
really start addressing when it comes to internalized misogyny and projection. Because I'm so sick of this notion that Kamala Harris apparently cannot win. She can win if we vote for her. I know a lot of people sit here and think that, oh, well, white women won't vote for her. Well, guess what? They didn't vote for Joe Biden in 2020. He got less white women voters than Hillary did in 2016. That's a fact. So
Hmm.
don't sit here and allow your, self-hate or self-loathing and all these no's that you've been taught to project on Vice President Kamala Harris, because we have always overcome. I'm not asking white people for permission to be what I'm destined to be.
No.
So I don't understand where this notion comes from, where black people needs white people's permission to just walk in our destiny, because that's not what it is. They've told us that we would never be anything but property, you guys.
Exactly.
We have been legislators, lawyers, lawmakers. We've been presidents, Supreme Court justices, entrepreneurs, business owners. What are you talking about? We have come a mighty long way. But
Yes.
I reject that notion that I need permission from white people to walk in my destiny. She can win if we vote for her.
But I
And
also
that's the
think,
thing. That is the whole thing. Like people who, like, I don't understand you saying that you're not going to vote because is Kamala.
But here's the thing.
That is insane.
The Kamala Harris has been a threat to white male patriarchy since she decided that she was going to run for senator. Even kind of before then. Kamala Harris has a track record. When she was a senator, she was one of the most progressive senators in the Senate, according to Progressive Punch Card. She was the most progressive. So it's not that Kamala Harris doesn't have the ability to lead, or she's not this progressive person that's not going to advocate for Black people. Kamala Harris has done a lot, particularly for the Black community, especially when it comes to police and criminal justice reform. She was the first person to create a reentry program, but there's been these lies that she locked up Black people for marijuana possession when marijuana commissions decreased under Kamala Harris's tenure when she was AG. I mean, numbers don't lie, but niggas do, excuse me.
Wait, okay. I'm gonna have to add that to my vocabulary.
I'm not trying to get us flagged on YouTube because I know that they got some stuff. But I'm not trying to be too raw and too real because I know this ain't my platform. So let me pull back a little bit.
Yeah, just pull back a little bit. But
of all the lies that can be debunked, I can go over every lie that they've got on Kamala Harris. They've been trying to kneecap her since she decided to run for office because they've been scared of her calling her the next Obama. But
that's what I was going to say.
Kamala is better than Obama.
Let's talk about
it. I think as human beings, right? Like, and obviously, generally speaking, lumping the whole Black community together, there is this overarching push to still abide by Eurocentric standards, no matter the words that come out of your mouth, right? So again, to your why not Kamala Harris point, things change when we change them. There was a point when we couldn't wear our dreadlocks in the workspace. You know what I mean? We couldn't wear our braids in the workspace. And there were people even then fighting against that, again, pushing for Eurocentric standards. Oh, well, it looks prettier, according to who? So all of these things, change has to be met. At some point, we can't sit in secret corners of the internet and talk about, well, you know, the men wouldn't like the men. Like, we don't care what they would be into at all.
Right.
We don't care what
we create the men. We create the men.
Exactly.
Right?
And at this point,
and so why couldn't Kamala create a great democracy for us?
I'm into watching it. I'll even take the Kamala out of it. And I said this when it was Hillary Clinton. At this point, I'm willing to see, well, what the women's is talking about, because we done had a litany of men running the country. We know at some point what it can give. Yes, each president is different. They have different points of view on what they do and whether or not they're deemed a good president. Yes, but it's just a bunch of men. The Cat Williams joke, white, until we get to Obama. So at this point, even if you don't like that person, you don't want to be on the side of, well, I'm willing to fuck around and find out. That's where I'm at now. Okay.
I mean, in the words of Donald Trump, what the hell do we have to lose?
Exactly. At this point, Cookie Monster.
Hello? Because he's blue. Let's vote for him.
Let's vote for him. Because it's really sad for, I mean, this week has been so stressful because it's just, I saw somebody make a comment. I thought it was so irresponsible. And I was like, I think she said, I'm thinking about that side because he took a bullet. Like, are you serious? Like, you can't put that kind of rhetoric out here in this sensitive time right now.
Because he took a few bullets, but he watched a few bullets fly, and he also threatened peaceful protesters with bullets. So I don't want to hear that.
Yes.
Miss me with that, particularly Black protesters during the George Floyd riots and protests. I don't want to hear that.
I don't want to hear that. What am I supposed to do? Hold up a Bible upside down and cry? I don't care.
It's so irresponsible. It is so irresponsible.
And did we prove that it was a bullet and not the teleprompter glass? Like,
I don't know what it was. But my whole thing is just like, we have to stick together. I mean, I know it's us 4 and with double is 5, and then us in these comments, and we who are really concerned about our democracy. I know that we need to stick together, and we are sticking together because everybody in this chat is blue down. I get that. But just like he did something so, he shows up with this piece of tissue on his ear, and the whole group comes in with stuff taped to their ear. It is crazy. And for you to just ask and go at the president about age and he's not doing well. We have to stick together. We have to.
We have to. We have
But
to.
people, look, guys, everybody has to also start thinking a little bit different. Like we preach to the choir. Like again, I'm here. Like I shouldn't probably be here. I should have like said I'm not doing it today because of the decision that was made. Just like your brother said, it's been 2 hours. As someone who is heavily invested in this and who has done, I just posted a video, guys, on my 3+1 Media YouTube. I did a deep dive into the whole why this happened and the whole entire Pass the Torch movement, how it traces back to Dean Phillips, how it traces back to California billionaires, and how they applied pressure and how we got to this outcome. It is a good video and it's worth you watching. And it's cited with sources that gives evidence so you can see that I'm not just making up some nonsense as some people do who get onto YouTube and make videos. But we have to be realistic. I have lived through this, people, in the state of Georgia in 2022, when we had a phenomenal Black woman named Stacey Abrams, who was overly qualified, extremely intelligent, and more than prepared to become the rightful governor of Georgia, who had the financial backing and the appropriate political apparatus, and she lost to the incumbent at the time, Brian Kemp, who did not deliver for the people of Georgia, specifically those who are Black and brown, but who did deliver for the donor class that kept him in office. So, yes, should Kamala Harris be the next president of the United States? No question. Do I have faith that the Democratic Party will be loyal to her after they just pushed Joe Biden out? I do not. Do I have faith that the donor class who helped push him out and who funded him being pushed out are going to rally behind Kamala? No, I do not. People like me and Kenny and Milashawn and everyone else out there who are like Leah here now saying, yeah, we're going to do this. Ale was saying we're going to do this. Yeah, we're going to rally behind her, but we didn't leave her. We didn't leave Joe. So again, this decision makes me question the value of people to the Democratic Party. And as a whole, I'm going to tell you right here, I'm proud to say I am not for the Democratic Party. I am for the people, specifically those of us who are Black, brown, and LGBTQIA+. That's who I fight for. That's who I speak for. That is who I am speaking for on the behalf of. That is it. The Democratic Party and their incumbent leaders like Nancy Pelosi, Barack Hussein Obama, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, and everybody else who let this become public, who did not stand up and protect Joe and Kamala in the first place, have shown me who they are, and I will never forget. And I really don't give a damn about what anyone on this in any chat here or any chat moving forward says or thinks about it. I don't give a damn. My fight will always be for Black, brown, and queer people in this country, period, point blank, over any of the two parties that exist.
No,
And
those
I have no faith.
conversations-
I have no faith in the
and
party.
those emotions should have never left the screen door. The second they crossed over that screen threshold, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, everybody that you mentioned, George Clooney, all the donors, everybody should have let them be in them private rooms at the table, even if you were going to pull your funding, right? Like, even if that was still going to be the final answer, the lack of awareness for their platform, that's what I will say. Because and yes, the Democratic Party let it happen, but that's a big lump. I'm lumping everybody who publicly spoke out. Their lack of awareness of their platform in the middle of an election season is what.
But I'm saying that was the point. I'm saying this was organized and orchestrated, and I have no faith that they knew what they would do. They knew how it would look. They knew how it would cause dissension. They knew what they were doing. I don't believe for a moment that this may not be an orchestrated part of the Trump strategy. I don't believe that. I just don't. I have no faith. I have no faith in billionaires who look like this, who live in California, who are making dictates and decisions on behalf of the people. Not when every Black and brown person I know in this world said they didn't want this to happen. I do not have faith that this isn't part of a bigger plan.
Pretty much.
It's definitely undercutting us, but that's where I'm saying, for me, I think that the undercutting, and obviously I don't know, so I'm speaking for it, but the undercutting doesn't feel like it's, oh, we don't care what your vote is. It comes across as a true lack of awareness. When you talk to, and I know we're all grown, but when you talk to grown people and people in those positions, you hear rhetoric like, oh, well, the internet's not real. Oh, well, a news cycle is, this ain't 2008. It's not 1998. And it damn sure ain't 1762 or what the fuck ever. You feel what I'm saying? The internet is a real place. Whether or not people should take their advice, their political advice from celebrities or not, it happens. And that's what I'm saying. The lack of awareness and the lack of willingness to give reality and truancy to conversations like this that happen on the internet is what got us here, because you can't play 1998 political games in 2024. You just can't. What won the election, what political science says for past elections, yes, does it hold value? But to a certain extent, we have evolved rapidly from the last election to now.
And I'm just gonna say I agree with Janet J. And I heard everything you said, Zach, and I respect it, and I agree with you on points that you have, you too, Kenny, and you too, L. But when it comes down to it, we have to encourage people to vote. I mean,
Absolutely. I don't think
100%.
anybody here disagrees.
No. I'm not saying. I mean, like I'm just saying, like if, like for Zach to say, I'm for brown people, I'm not for the Democratic Party, I'm not for this, that, and the third. I'm not saying that we don't understand what he's saying, but there may be people who are not there and look at it like, oh, well, if you got somebody like that, well, what's the point?
Well, let me explain to the people. When it comes to black folks, we're not loyal to the Democratic Party. Let's just start right there. We are using the Democratic Party for a means to an end. This is literally just a tool to get what we need in order to survive. It's called harm reduction, if you will.
Okay.
Luckily, we've been able to garner a few wins in our community to actually better our lives and help out our community, especially when it comes to building intergenerational wealth. However, we are very clear-eyed that there is still sexism and racism within the Democratic Party, which is why I posed that question earlier. What are we going to do to make sure that Kamala Harris is the nominee and they don't try to steal this from her?
Right.
Because we understand what this means. At the end of the day, I don't believe, and based off of any data that I'm showing, that they just only wanted to remove Biden from the ticket. I believe they tried to get rid of Biden and Harris from the ticket, being the fact that Nancy Pelosi has always been kind of iffy when it comes to Vice President Kamala Harris, because in 2023 they tried to remove her from the ballot. Back then they said Joe Biden needs to replace Kamala Harris. There was several articles about this Democratic leader saying that Kamala Harris needs to be removed from the ticket and then we might be better. Joe Biden's age was never an issue in 2023, nor was it an issue before this debate, nor was it an issue after this debate. The issue was the fact that, oh, his vice president is too black for me. And we have to acknowledge that fact. Do I think that America's ready? Ready or not, here it comes.
Exactly.
Hello.
And again,
But
I think somebody said earlier, I think they were questioning what I said about research. You should always research what people like me or anyone else says. It should be researched no matter who says it. But understand this. I'm not sitting here as some random person off the street. I have committed myself to serving my communities. And I would never get on anyone's platform and make up and share lies and misinformation. Again, I made a video that does a deep dive into what just happened and why it happened and how it happened. You can look at that on your own, Tonda Williams, and check that out to verify what I'm saying. Again, I don't just get up here and make up bullshit on someone's platform. I would never do that because I have too much integrity around what I do and around who I am, Dr. Zachary Kirk. Google it, check it out, look at the credentials, and see where I'm coming from. As Kenny just said, we have been following this for a long time. And yeah, that's exactly, he said plainly what I was saying about, again, there are people out there that we're seeing that you guys maybe are not seeing and that are saying that we know that they wanted a whole new ticket. There are people now talking about a contested convention. People are talking about an open convention. People are talking about having a mini primaries. There's a whole lot of things out there from these political insiders and what they plan to do. And we are now in a battle and a fight for the party where it's going to be either there's going to be the people in the Democratic Party or it's going to be the donors. And that's the battle that we're facing. And those donors are made up of men who look like this and not this, who feel they have a certain level of privilege because they have wealth. And many of them, and to me, I'll say it right here, plain as day. We are looking at having in this country two parties, the MAGA Republicans or the Never Trump Republicans. And the Democratic Party would not be in the existence in the form that it is if we allowed this to happen. And to me, this is an absolute fight against all of that to maintain control of our party and ensure that people like me continue to have a voice. And not me, Zachary Kirk, but me, Black man and Black woman and Black children in this nation.
Right.
Because we have been the backbone and the base of the Democratic Party. And we are owed something in return for our commitment and our loyalty besides simple harm reduction.
Come on, let's talk about it.
Right.
I have a question for y'all. So there has been rhetoric that Obama, while he is not in the last 2.5 hours, endorsed Kamala Harris, that Obama was going to come out and endorse her. Bernie Sanders was going to do it. And then Kamala would in turn run on as an independent. So she would run for the independent party. What do y'all think about that? And do you think that it's even possible to run it that way?
No. I mean, as far as Obama has always been the last person. He doesn't like to rock the boat or anything like that. He does a lot of behind the scenes type things. So he's not going to come out and openly support or endorse Vice President Kamala Harris because unfortunately that's just who he is. Bernie Sanders, I do see him possibly endorsing Kamala Harris because Elizabeth Warren just endorsed Kamala Harris as we were going live. So I can see an AOC or I see the progressive wing of people who are either elected officials supporting Vice President Kamala Harris as the nominee. But as far as Obama, you're not going to hear anything until the convention. He's going to be at the very last minute and go with what everybody else says. That's just what he does.
And I think people...
You're right about it.
And I need him to put his whole ass on the scale.
Yeah, like now is not the time for what you usually do. This is unprecedented times.
I respect what Kenny's talking about because, and I understand what you mean. 100% understand what you're saying because it does seem like sometimes he goes along to get along, and it's just not right out there in the front and center. Like, because you would think he would definitely come out before Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton had come out.
Come on, but there's a difference though. I don't know what it is about Obama. He really does like to play along to get along, but when it comes to putting your finger on the scale, even during the primaries in 2016. He knew he supported Hillary Clinton, but did not give her an endorsement until it seemed like she had already won. Versus us going through this toxic primary and then, all this extra drama that was unnecessary to begin with. If you have the ability to play a role that could have benefited or helped somebody rather than harm someone, why don't you play that role? One thing that I'm always going to be very, I always respect President Biden for not going along with the get along and immediately endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris to be the nominee. He does not care about what's popular. He cares about what's right.
Yes. And I think that's another thing that people need to really think about when this vote. And like you said, the Democrats, I get it. We're in this party. I got it. But they have our lives, they are paying attention to our lives versus the other side who is just paying attention to being in control. And that is scary in itself, right? The president doesn't even have that much power when it comes down to it at the end of the day, right? So I'd much rather and be more comfortable with someone who, yes, they're in control, they have power, but they're looking at how we are affected. And I mean, we as everybody. But
we the people.
On the other side, on the other side, you have someone who just wants to be in control, just wants it to look like them, just wants it to be what they want it to be. And we are definitely at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to that. And I don't think people really understand that. Like, some people don't see that. Now that Biden is out, and now it's like it's a tizzy because it's automatic that we're voting for whoever's in blue. Like, I don't even understand what you're talking about.
Well, I'm happy to vote for Kamala Harris. Let's go on the record with that. But however, I understand what you're saying, that we're primarily Democratic in this room here.
Right.
However, I think that we do need to figure out what we need to do is round along of ending Citizens United, because this could never happen again.
Yeah.
This
It
can never
can't.
happen again.
They'll never end it because the politicians are gonna they want that money. They're not gonna end it. That I don't think that's a I mean, and I don't think that we will have the our lifetime in this game in terms of getting what we deserve it's over. But we can fight for our children and our children's children to have it as in a better situation so that they don't have to ever go
Right.
through this again. Like our time is our time is done, right? Like, it'll take 40 to 50 years for the system to change and be what it should be so that it truly is one voice, one vote, and then fair. But President Obama was a part of this, Millie. And again, and listen, understand, I have been fighting for this man's legacy against Gen Z on TikTok repeatedly, right? Because the Gen Z kids don't like him.
For
I've
a
been
long
fighting,
time.
defending him. I have been fighting hard to saying, like, look, you people don't understand what President Obama did and what he went through and how important his legacy is. Because these kids were born during his presidency, so they don't understand the battle before him. But I'm sorry to say, President Obama was a very big part of what happened. He was a big part. And I believe that we will see in the weeks and months to come who he really is. If President Obama does not support Vice President Harris and being the next president of the United States, I will never be able to support him again. And I have some keepsakes and a whole set of memorabilia that I will be putting online to sell, and I'll be happy for you to have it. I mean, I really have some things that have
But
great
question,
value,
who
and
will
I
be
will
buying
sell
the
them
new
for a
book?
very low price because, again, exactly as someone put in the chat, it is very true. President Barack Obama has just come out again and said that he does not endorse Kamala Harris personally, that he's expecting them to have a great nominee. So I think that he will back the nominee and whoever that nominee is. But
I
him
literally
saying it
just
That
today
is
said
before the
that.
wild.
decision is made is
I
I'm
told
telling
you.
you, it will be pivotal. If he
He,
came out today, it would pretty much guarantee that Kamala will be the nominee, and he knows the power that he has, but he's unwilling to do it. And I'm very disappointed in him as a
I
black
just
man.
said it in the chat. I personally do not think that Obama has come out and endorsed Kamala Harris
I
because as
know
much
it
as
did.
y'all are
I just
going
pulled it up.
crazy on the internet talking about some Harris Newsom, I don't think that Newsom is going to be Kamala's
He's
running
not
mate. I
legally
think
allowed. He's
I
not legally allowed, people, because you can't have two candidates from the same state. So he can't.
Right.
He
he,
can't do it. Gavin
he's
Newsom
going.
isn't an option. You're looking at Andy Beshear out of Kentucky. You're looking at Shapiro out of Pennsylvania. You're looking at this current governor of North Carolina, or Gretchen Whitmer. But how
No, that's
that's
not going to
unlikely.
happen.
But I'm just telling you the four people that are really able to do it because they're in battleground states and because they are not able to run for re-election because they've served two successful terms. But again, it ain't gonna be our choice. It's gonna be the choice of those mega donors.
Raising them
Yeah.
people.
But
Which
yeah, I pulled it up and it says this is from the Wall Street Journal. But other powerful figures have held off, including former Speaker Nancy Pelosi,
I know.
House Minority Hakeem Jeffries, Senate Majority Chuck Schumer, former President Barack Obama.
We know.
Will Kurt
Because
will when we're
they have
surprised.
a candidate already lined up. I don't necessarily know who
All
it
right.
is, but all I know is they're miscalculating. They're miscalculating.
And that's why I'm so
what this is
angry,
going
right?
to
Like, so
do
I want to
to
make
Black
sure it's
voters.
clear to everybody out there why I've been so harsh and while I have no faith. Do you see
Oh.
what I'm saying? Like, we know these things. Like, we follow this every day. I have lived in social media spaces and conversations the whole entire week. I was in DC on Thursday and Friday. Like, people, there's some horrible things happening in the background, and we're fighting to hold the line. We're fighting to maintain the just a fair semblance of like the people's power. But understand, this money has power. And I'm not saying this so
Yes,
that
it
you
does.
lose faith. I'm just saying this so you are aware, so that you know what's happening, and so that you will fight just as hard as we're fighting to ensure that Kamala Harris is not like Rhaenys, the queen that never was.
Did y'all see Trump's statement?
I don't give a damn.
No, I did not. I did not see his statement.
This man is just so classless. Like at every opportunity, and I feel like, God forbid, if I ever worked on like his campaign, I'd be like, we need to make you more presidential. Well, like,
what are you talking about? That appeals to his racist and misogynistic base. What are you talking about? That's literally what drives them.
This makes my chest tight. I'm not
I
gonna
mean,
lie to
people
you.
are also
Well, let me ask
saying,
you.
here's some,
Please don't
let
be
me just briefly
Let me
say
ask you
one thing.
about.
Let me say one thing.
Oh no, not that. I'm talking
No,
about just the topic. I don't read nothing.
but
He
no, when
writes
people are
past the first
saying
three
like,
lines.
can Kamala win? I want to say and go
Yeah.
on
Yes.
record. Yes, Kamala can win, but it's going to take a gargantuan effort.
Yes.
People have not said this yet, but I'll say it. Like, we are Black for the most part on this call, and we understand and value Black women. If you're not a Black woman, you're someone who loves Black women. Like, that's just what it is for those of
Right.
us who are for the most part here. I can almost guarantee you that. But understand this: racism is alive and well, and so is misogyny. Why? And it's not like we're going to undo that in our lifetime or we're going to defeat that in this election cycle. It's not.
Mhm.
Kamala Harris is a Black woman, and she is going to face both of those obstacles as she goes into this campaign. And it is, and we do, like exactly as Millichan's brother said, have to fight for her and we have to protect her. But we can't ignore the fact that she is up against some very hard odds, and she will have a very heavy lift. That's why it's essential that she picks a running mate that will be able to push forward and help her overcome some of those obstacles. And somebody said Mayor Pete. Mayor Pete is a homosexual.
That's not
He's
gonna work.
not going to that's just not where America is, unfortunately. And I wish it was,
Yeah.
as a fellow homosexual. It's just not the America that we live in. And we can't ignore those harsh realities. We have to see them and we have to confront them. We have to fight through them. We have to break down the barriers. But that's going to take all of us. It's going to take a strong wall of support. And it's going to take everybody doing everything they can to make that happen. That's what it's going to take. And it's going to go beyond lip service. And when I say everything, I mean that's going to be you talking to your husbands. That's going to be you talking to your sons. That's going to be you talking to your brothers and your uncles and your grandparents, your grandfathers, all the Black men who we need to mobilize. That's going to be step one. Then it's going to be talking to your colleagues, your coworkers, the white people around you, to then convince them too that Project 2025 and the second Trump agenda is not in their best interest, because it's not. If everyone knows what's in Project 2025 and they really understood what Trump really wants to do for America in the second term, they're going to quickly and easily mobilize behind Kamala. That's how I know she can win. But there's a lot of work that has to be done that hasn't been done. And do we have time to do it? I don't know.
Well, I will
Yeah.
say this. I had a conversation today before this, and it was like I feel wholeheartedly that Kamala, if she is the nominee, I feel 100%. If people get behind it, and like you said, if you read a paragraph in Project 2025, you should get behind Kamala, just
Mhm.
because.
Mhm.
But the fact that there's some people who feel like this country is not ready for a woman, like Lizzie Calhoun is saying, sorry people, but I just don't think Kamala is strong enough to run against Trump. Kamala is the strongest. Trump is an idiot,
Y'all
right?
don't
he
understand. Trump was
he
scared
had
of Kamala Harris. Y'all have to
That's what I'm
understand
saying.
her
Like
legislative
she
ability.
is she is she is presidential, she is government, she is policies, she knows how to and what not to do. Trump just wants to come in, because I don't know why people are scared of him. Because that's the thing, for somebody to say, I don't think she's strong enough to run. She's the vice
Yes, it is.
president.
But no.
Yeah,
Let's
what
just
you
let's break that down. Let's break that down, because Kamala Harris has already shut down a lot of Trump's, administration. He shut down his Attorney General Bill Barr. He shut down his Supreme Court Kavanaugh. I mean, she's grilled these people to make them almost damn near cry on the stand. Kamala Harris has the ability to prosecute the case. I want you guys to pay attention. The only people that have been able to hold Trump accountable are Black women. Look at Tish
Mhm.
James. Look at Willis and DA, Fonnie Willis. Come on, what are we talking about?
Yes.
Black women have the ability to hold Trump accountable. He can't even be in the same room with a Black woman by himself without him
No.
catching hives. What are y'all talking about? Kamala
Exactly.
Harris, that's his biggest fucking fear.
A Black woman.
You got to
Mhm.
remember who she was. Y'all got to remember, most of the time, before y'all even knew who Kamala was, before she decided to run for president during the primary, we saw her on the Senate committee, literally grilling these men down. Known for her memes for just being vicious on the stand. Not the cackle Kamala that we know right now. But don't get it twisted. Kamala has that fire in her to prosecute this case.
Mhm.
Right.
Which is why J.D. Vance did not want to debate her. He declined after they had already accepted. They don't
That's
want to smoke with Kamala.
That is a point. I did forget about that.
Yeah,
I did forget about.
I did
They
too.
do not be wanting to debate the garage.
No,
Respectfully, the
they
future
don't.
president.
But I also feel like I said, the conversation I was having, the question, well, the comment was America is not ready for a female leader,
Well, ready or not,
ready or not. And here's the thing, like I said,
Yeah.
if you read one paragraph, you don't even have, just close your eyes and spin the pages and stop at a paragraph in Project 2025. After you read that
Mhm.
paragraph, that's enough for you to get behind anybody else
Yeah,
but
if
the
you're not
Republicans.
scared after that.
If you're not afraid after that, like literally taking everything away. Like we're at the age now, we have more years behind us than we do have in front of us. So Social Security is going to be a
Mhm.
big deal for us at some point,
Mhm.
right? Education is a big, I don't, somebody explain this to me right now. What does that mean that they're trying to take away the Board of Education? Because I really and truly,
they
honestly,
want to take away the
Well,
protections that we have in our public school
Mhm.
systems.
they're going to take away the Department of Education, and so the Department of Education exists. It was created like in the early 20th century. Mary McLeod Bethune had a lot to do with it. So when you look at like our Black heroes, she was a big part of it. And again, that's what people don't understand. A lot of these departments that exist in the executive branch were created because of Black people, including the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice was created by President Ulysses S. Grant to protect recently freed Black people from enslavement. And so Project 2025 aims to undo all of those departments, to completely obliterate them, take them away. Losing the Department of Education means that you would no longer have dedicated Title I funding or any of those title protections that support students in schools, including special education, also including like female rights in sports and ensuring equal access to education for female students. All of that will be gone and would become the full dominion of the states. The reason why these rights were taken from the states in the first place was because they were discriminating against Black people and brown people and girls in the first place. So we're taking that money and those protections away and putting that money back in the states. So with Title I, that's what funds many of our Black and brown schools that are
yes,
predominantly Black and brown. They're
yes,
going to take away the funding that's called Title I funding, and they're going to put that into the states. So the states can decide how they would use that money. And I'm certain that you're going to have some democratic-led states like New York use that money for kids. But you'll have some states, probably like Georgia, that would take that money and put it in vouchers and give that money to private and religious schools. That's what would happen. In addition to that, you're not going to be able to have the programs that are in the Department of Ed that supports education, like subsidized student loans, like student loan forgiveness. Those things also will go away, and those things will go away quick. The dismantling Title I in the Department of Education will take anywhere from 2 to 10 years. But getting rid of like the loans and opportunities like that off the bat going in year one. They were going to get rid of Pell Grants, all those types of grants and fundings that support low-income students. That's all gone in year one. That's what it means in Project 2025 when they say they're going to take away the Department of Education. And you can read, there's a whole chapter on it called Department of Education. You can read that one chapter just to verify what I'm saying.
yes. Thank you for that, because just with that explanation, me being a former teacher, I know how important Title I is. I know how important that is. Like somebody said, IEPs. That is so important for children to have those types of uh, things that they can use in order to further their education.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have this testing and if you don't have this, there are going to be so many children who are going to fall behind.
Mhm.
And then what does that do for the future?
Fall further behind.
You're talking about people who are going to be in control of our future, right? You're talking about people who are going to be the children now who are going to go through school who are actually smart, but they need a little something else. And they're going to be behind, and you're going to have people vote blue. That's all I can say.
But that's
That's
what
all I
Zach was
can
saying
say.
last panel. They are not interested in creating a new generation of leaders to take over the world. They are, and I'm paraphrasing his words, but they are looking to create worker bees. This is not about making sure that kids are up to standards. And I know that because even without Project 2025, these babies can't read.
No,
They can't
they
read. The
can't.
average classroom is damn near a year behind, but we keep passing these kids on. We keep creating laws that say you can't fail the kids. You can't skip them, but you gotta pass them even if they fail. So now you're in a classroom with 2, 3, 4, 5 possibly kids that get it and 20 that don't. And then God forbid if you live in an area where half the kids in the school don't even speak the language. Ain't even enough English or
Oh,
as a second language teachers. So now you got teachers who don't know how to speak Spanish or whatever other language them kids think. And now they yelling the information louder because they think the problem is the sound. Child, we could hear you. They don't understand you. We already got a teacher shortage. You feel what
yeah.
I'm saying? We are already at these places. The education of the next generation was never a paramount issue.
But the teacher shortage is by design. Like it's by don't make no mistake. It's not because people don't want to teach. They've made it so that you wouldn't want to teach. They've made it so that they don't put money and funding in the college prep programs to get early pre-service teachers in the field. This is all a part of the Republican plan for the
And it's been
long-term
a part.
takeover of public education. This would just accelerate that plan.
It's been
We
a
have
part
to
this whole
always stay. That's right. It's always we have to always stay aware, stay woke, and stay engaged.
because I
That's
know for
it.
me, I enjoy teaching. My sister is an amazing teacher, amazing. Like that is her calling. I was doing it, and I started to love it, but it was like it's the politics of it, and like you said, I'll never forget. I had a principal. Like I'm teaching kids and they're not doing the work and I'm grading them accordingly. And my principal came to me and said, I don't know what you're going to say to these parents when you come in here and you fail their kids. I said, what do you mean?
I'm gonna say they baby failed.
What are they going to say to me? How are you going to say that? I was like, they don't do the work. Then I find out that the mama working at the casino at night. The daddy is doing this, that, and the third. The baby got to come in and fix food for the little kid because the mama got to go to work because the daddy gone. So they can't do the homework. Ma'am, do you want me to run a kindergarten or do you want me to teach the kids? So it's just a lot. It's a lot. And I don't know. It was a lot for me. It was just a lot for me.
President Obama has officially endorsed an open convention. So I'm just putting that also out there as further evidence because again,
I about hung up on you.
he was a part of this process in the beginning. Again, there's a video I have up on 3+1 Media, and now he's saying he's according to Politico, and I'm not. Politico has been doing all these leaks. And I've been saying that they're trash, but lo and behold, what they said came to pass today. Because they were saying Biden was dropping out
today,
last week. And so lo and behold, it's come to be. They literally said he was going to drop out on Sunday, and he dropped out on Sunday. And now they're saying President Obama is behind the scenes endorsing an open convention and may the best man or woman win. Whereas the Clintons are clearly came out today in full support of Kamala.
Child, I'm not gonna. I'll go on record. Child, I'm gonna wipe my ass with Obama at this moment. This is like, oh my God, what the fuck? I'm sorry.
No, I'm reading the statement because what Zach is saying would be so contradictory to this.
What are you looking at, Zach? Joe Biden.
Joe Biden drops out of race. Kamala Harris says she's running. It's a political article that Obama endorses open nominating process while Clinton's endorse Harris is the article from Politico. But again, it just popped up and I have to,
And again, but that's not what his statement say. His statement gives hope for tomorrow. But that's to you and Kenny's point is the part that is annoying. Because if you're unsure, just write me an article that says, like, listen, I didn't know neither. I was looking like y'all was looking. Like, at this point, I'm so tired of the fruit for nutter that is politics. Like, and I get it. It's politics. We'll never find any candidate who is like, this is going to give me everything I want. That's not realistic. But the fact that I got to second guess every fucking thing that comes out your mouth.
Well, the fact that the Democrats think we have time for this shit. The fact that anyone thinks that we have time, we should be fighting against Project 2025, Donald John Trump, and JD Vance. Like we should be fighting with everything we have against that. But here we are fighting each other, and it's going to be at least another month of this fight.
We just need to get behind Kamala because I already know the lies that they're going to throw at her. They're going to lie about her criminal justice record. They're going to lie on all these other things. They're going to question her blackness.
And the
Apparently,
Clintons
they
have
can.
endorsed Kamala. The Clintons have
Because
released
the
a
Clintons
statement that
know
fully
what's in,
endorsed Kamala.
they know what's at stake, and they're not playing no games. They're going to put their whole ass on the scale, not a finger, their whole ass on the scale. Because when
And
it
listen,
comes to
and Hillary
loyalty,
is
that's
for
the only thing
anything
that's
that beat
supposed to
that man
matter to
Trump.
me.
Anything. She is for anything.
But we could be getting ready for the Kamala Harris, what she needs to do, what's the message going forward. But the message is the same goddamn message, because the Biden-Harris campaign is literally the same goddamn campaign. The only difference now, she can push for more things that she wants to do.
Exactly.
I don't know if
it's
y'all
the
know
same
this,
thing.
but when Kamala Harris was running for president, when she was trying to be the nominee, she was fighting for universal basic income. That's a big thing, and you ain't gotta have no goddamn kid or be married to qualify for it. It's called the lift.
She also wrote that the after school bill that will give free after school to schools, so that parents who obviously don't get off in time to pick their kids up at 3:30 have a safe place to put them in. And but then even that got washed in the media because they were like, oh, Kamala wants to extend the school day.
Like she was extending the school hours. That was going to make you work these damn kids to the goddamn bone, when that's not the case. She was extending the school hours so that way, if you can't afford child care, come on, we always talk about we want child care, we want paid leave and all these other things. Kamala was giving us an option that would have been free.
And the bill, that particular bill included funding to pay the teachers. So she wasn't asking nobody to do no work for free. She was just making sure that kids had a place. And then in the 2-year plan, because it was like a 2-year rollout, eventually it would lead to creating programs that happened in that after school program. And it was like STEM programs. It was just more than like basketball. They were bringing music back. It was STEM programs. I want to say it was a second language program in there, if I'm not mistaken. But she was doing all of these things that would allow you as the parent to not be able to get off work and still pick your kid up. And that's a big deal, especially when daycare and aftercare cost about as much as another apartment.
Yes.
Talk about it. You know what?
And Callie, Steve, you're right. Yes, David Axelrod was a part of this orchestration, and yes, I mean, again, I know we may not want to hear it, but the people that were at the forefront of getting Joe to step down are now starting a whole new fight to be at the forefront of an open convention. I'm just saying, and it's out there, it's there, and again, you can accept it or not, but we have to fight. Like, I don't know how to. It's that you would go in, and then the delegates people would declare, I want to be president, and the delegates from each state that have been chosen at the state level would then vote there at the convention for who's going to be the nominee.
Lord, could be a mess.
It's going to be.
This is going to be like this is really going to be House of the Dragon. This is going to be the Reds versus the Blacks. Like, the Greens versus the Blacks. This is literally a battle where you have the person who is the heir apparent versus the possible challenges that will come. And who will those challenges be? We don't know. But I'm just saying, I am going to support and endorse and vote for only one person now to be president of these United States of America. And I'm proud to say it will only be Kamala Harris. And I don't care who may be the nominee. I'm only voting for Kamala. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Child, all I know is that it's going to be hell. All I know is that Joe Biden and his team need to get on the goddamn line and call their delegates and make sure they rally behind Kamala, because they're going to try to steal this from her. But you know what? I got to give you something, girl. I'm surprised you even knew about that policy. You must have been hanging out with OGK Hub. What the hell was going on?
Oh, excuse me. My minor was poli-sci.
I was her teacher.
I'm a political girl. I just get online and talk about pop culture, but I am political.
I'm surprised that you knew this policy. I know this policy. Look,
and so, as Milichan said, her sister was a great teacher. I taught Elle Murasaki when she was a high school student. So I'm not saying I resulted her knowing that policy. I'm just saying she was always a great student.
I'm shook by that. I'm shook that you knew, because look, let me tell you something.
I can surprise her. She's well-rounded.
And that's why that I really appreciate you all. We've been here like an hour and 8 minutes, and I don't want to take any more of your time. But like I said, I appreciate you all being here, and I called you for this particular reason, because I believe in what you all say and do, and I follow you all loyally. So,
I love you, Melchan.
Thank you. Elle, do you have any closing remarks that you would like to say?
I want to say that while you might be sad today, that is no reason to decide that you are not going to be an active voter in this election. I had a teacher back in the day who told me that if you don't vote, you lose your ability to complain. Well, we're far past that. If you don't vote, you lose autonomy of your body. If you don't vote, you lose damn near being legal in this world. You lose everything that you might have fought for, that your ancestors might have fought for. This is not the election to not participate.
Okay. Kenny?
In closing, I just want to say to anybody, again, and just to reiterate, to anybody who believes that Kamala doesn't have the ability to win, I want you to stop projecting all your no's. We don't have to ask white people for permission to walk in our destiny. We are literally standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. Some of us weren't even allowed to be in the spaces that we're in today, literally 60 years ago.
Yeah.
Remember where we came and where we plan to go. Let's look at what can be unburdened by what has been. Okay, like Carmen said, you think you fell out of a coconut tree? I know y'all seen them. I know y'all seen them. I know y'all seen them.
Zach?
What final words?
Yes,
I
sir.
hate you for that, but it was good.
It's gonna be an uphill battle. We have a fight ahead of us, and it's an uphill battle. You know, I was actually reading an article from Republicans, and that expresses their excitement and they're overjoyed. You know, at this moment, and I do believe that Republicans are gonna see this as an advantage for them. They're gonna see this as a fight they can win, and we just have to really work hard. I just have very little faith in many of my fellow Americans who do not look like me. I do not have a lot of faith. And so we will see what happens. I feel as though people have shown us who they are. When you look at voter numbers and how things have gone, it tells a tale. And I don't think that we can't ignore that. We have to be informed by that. And because we're informed by it, we have to know the work ahead of us and not underestimate it. Black people in this country make up 13% of the United States population. Black people in this country make up 13% of the population. 40% of my home state of Mississippi is Black. 33% of my current home state, Georgia, is Black. Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, the three states that we must win, have a significantly smaller Black percentage. This election will not be won by Black people. This election will be won by white men and women, and that is where our work lies. And I want you to know that. I want you to be prepared for it, and I don't want you to underestimate what lies ahead. If you want to see the next president of the United States of America not be Donald John Trump.
Well, I would like to say, I would like to thank everybody for being here. And we'll try. We're definitely going to do one more of these. I'll figure that out with the panel.
No, we got to get to the DNC now more than ever.
Yeah.
Well, me and Zach are on our way.
So
I might go, I might not. It depends on what's happening between. No, I'm not going. If Kamala Harris is not on that ticket, Zachary Kirk will be getting his money back. Let me tell you something. The money for that flight. Now, the money on the housing is a donation to the group, right? We have an Airbnb. We were gonna be making contact, having a good time. That is a donation. I do not want that money back. It is a donation. But my time is valuable. My time will be right here in this house eating snacks and getting fat out of depression. If Kamala Harris is not on that ticket, I will not be attending the DNC.
We need you there so that we can not be attending the DNC. She'll be on that ticket. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, we need
you're
you
going.
There.
You're going.
Thank you, Kitty. Just go pick him up and just pick him up.
Get him in the car. Tell him we going for the milkshake.
And buckle him in.
But pick you up from the airport because I'm going to be there first. So you're going.
But I want to say this. I want to say this to people who may hear this, who like really what bothers me is the fact that people are saying because this person is doing it, I'm not going to vote. People, your vote means more. Your voice and your vote means more than you could ever know in this particular election. We've said a lot of things. We've had some people to come in here who has worked with the president, worked in that environment. You got Kenny and you got Zach who's in that environment, and they can talk till their heads fall off. But it does not matter if you do not go out there and exercise your right to vote. And a vote for blue is a vote for your democracy, for your body, for your children, for your family. And I just don't know how, with everything everyone said today, they were on point. Everybody has their views, and I agree, some I disagree, but we're all in this together. But regardless, you have to go to the polls and you have to vote. When it comes down to it, that's all that matters.
You got to.
So with that being said, whenever something else pops up and we have time, we're going to try to bring this back together, have another conversation. I appreciate you guys for being here, and just hold back for a few minutes. Let me just say goodbye to everyone. Thank you, guests. Thank you, chat, for being here. I hope you learned something. If you have some questions, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me at my just El Mirasaki, and if you like to follow me on Twitter, it's El Mirasaki.
Kenny?
You can follow me at Too Raw Too Real on all platforms, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever y'all want to call it. It's Twitter. Or or you can also follow me on, well, my TikTok is a little different from my actual name. It's Too Raw Too Real too, because I got being one time. But child, I'm back in the habit. Let's get it going.
Zach?
You guys can follow me on TikTok, because somebody had said, "Oh, you did a great job of explaining Project 2025." That video, what I just said, I have an extensive video. I'm very fortunate. Like, when I got recognized this week, actually, I found out from like a random article that, my TikTok on Project 2025 is the most watched TikTok on the topic. And it's a like 5-minute video. So I was shocked, but I've gotten it's currently, I think, at 4.8 million views. And it's the overview. So if you go to TikTok, you can follow me at Zactivist, Zactivist. The same thing as how it's here, but on Instagram, it's The Zactivist. On TikTok, it's Zactivist. And I have a whole entire playlist on Project 2025, and I break down how it impacts Black people, how it impacts gay people, how it impacts veterans, how it impacts workers. So it's a series, and so I'm going through each part of this Project 2025 and making every video where it can stand alone as a piece of content, but where it all ties together when you look at the full playlist. So I think it's definitely worth watching if you have questions about Project 2025 and what it means for you specifically as whatever you are.
Thank you all. Go follow Zach. I'm Millie Chan TV here on YouTube, Millie Channel 8 on TikTok, Millie Channel on Instagram. And I just want to thank y'all for being here. And I really hope that you learned something. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye, you guys.